The X-Men Year 1. A very unique island, bar Sinister. 2 unexpected visitors. Professor X and Magneto step through a teleportation gate and are stopped by an armored, helmeted guard. He orders them to state their business and adds, annoyed, to please not ask for help or a handout. Because while, yes, they have much, they really can't be bothered with the sad problems of sad people. And oh look, he's wearing a cape. He refers to Magneto. How perfect. Long-suffering. He states he doesn't suppose they have an appointment. Because who wears that having the other? Xavier stoically replies they do not have an appointment, but it is essential that they see Nathaniel Essex. The guard takes off his helmet, revealing himself to be a clone of Mr. Sinister. Which one? He asks. There are so many of them. They'll settle for the one in charge. Magneto replies drolly. The guard muses that, while Magneto's outfit is ridiculous, he does have an air of something about him. The other, however, it just won't do, he decides. It won't play well at court. A sad little man in his sad peasant suit stuck in his sad... Magneto smashes him into the wall. Xavier mildly points out they need the man. No, Magneto replies. This man needs to decide if he wants to escort them inside or continue thusly and reap the consequences. 2 minutes later, the guard has made the smart choice and led them inside the throne room, filled with people in Victorian clothes. He bows before the Sinister on the throne and introduces the 2 guests. Xavier begins talking, but Mr. Sinister interrupts imperiously. Before either of them says another word, he must make one thing perfectly clear. He loves that cape. Amazing. Why does he not have a cape? How does he not have a cape? His advisor obsequiously agrees, adding he has always thought he should wear one. In a huff, Sinister asks why he didn't tell him then. It slipped his mind the other stammers and Sinister shouts an order to have him executed. The guards immediately comply. With a smile, Mr. Sinister turns to Charles and Magneto. Now, how can he help them? Xavier replies that they were hoping they could help each other, as they know about his original endeavor into the world of genetics. And how would they know about that? Sinister demands. Xavier plays coy. Somewhat flattered, Sinister admits he is not surprised word is getting out. He does amazing work. Magneto adds they also know about the library he's building, cataloging the world's DNA. Don't judge. Sinister orders. He can't be shamed into changing who he is. Xavier assures him they don't want him to. What they want to suggest is a small deviation of focus. Continue with his broad indexing if he wants to. But they need him to prioritize making a comprehensive database of all mutant DNA. Safe, secure, redundant. They can help him with getting samples he might have trouble procuring, including theirs. Haughtily, Sinister replies the point of one collecting is found in the value of the collection. So why would he take such a special interest in the mutant gene? Magneto replies, he has seen the future and mutantdom's cause is his. Mr. Sinister scoffs at this. He has played around with introducing that aberrant gene into his superior genetic structure and let him tell them he did not like the results, and he won't tolerate such a... Suddenly, a gunshot in his head ends the run in his life. But I will, the culprit, another Sinister wearing a glorious cape, announces. Settling himself on the throne, he mock whispers that he is the Sinister with the mutant gene. And if they must know, his mutant power is overthrowing tyrants and being absolutely fabulous. He can see that. Magneto agrees with a slight smile. So, they are in this together, the new Sinister decides. He loves the ambition. He loves every bit of it. So tell him, partners, what's next for their secret sinful confederacy. Xavier replies, first, they need him to start the good work, and then they need him to forget. Why he's doing this and that, they were ever here until Xavier tells him to remember. The X-Men 1000. Professor X has taken Doug Ramsey, aka Cypher, to Krakoa. Looking at the tropical paradise, Doug wishes Xavier had told him they were going on vacation. He would have packed a bathing suit and some sunscreen. Xavier laments. that the world doesn't allow them any respite from the toil of everyday life. He's sorry to say this is not a vacation. This is Krakoa. Oh, cool. Doug snarks. The secret island where mutants come to die. Excellent choice. Xavier mildly asks whether it's wrong to expect more than sarcasm from someone whose mutant power is understanding and deciphering the nuances of any language. Doug laughs sheepishly, and Xavier assures him the days of Krakoa being their adversary are long in the past. It took some effort to understand the island, but eventually he was able to telepathically make a connection. From there, the relationship between Mutant Island and Mutant Man has grown. He tells Doug to follow him. He wants the two of them to meet. Unnoticed, Doug touches a flower with his techno-organic arm, and it is infected with the techno-organic virus. Xavier leads Cypher to a clearing, and they see a humanoid face in a giant tree. Xavier tells him to say hello. Doug greets the face and it answers. He begins analyzing its language and asks Xavier to have Krakoa say some more. Xavier asks Krakoa how it is feeling today, and it answers. He tells Douglas Krakoa says it's sad. Doug ventures it's more empathic than actual language. They are talking, but not at a complex, nuanced level. Xavier, friend. Island, friend. Friends. Happy. Friends. Many years. That kind of thing. Yeah. Is he saying Krakoa isn't sad? Xavier asks. No, he is, Doug replies. But it goes deeper than that. Xavier asks what the island said. Doug narrates Krakoa's story. They were Okara, the one land. The Twilight Sword tore them asunder, and what was one became two. Arako and Krakoa. And from the chasms between them, the enemy poured into the world. If not for the first mutant, the warrior god in blue, he refers to Apocalypse, the world would have fallen to them. But using all his power, he pushed Arako through the gap, set his four to be guardians to that land, and sealed the gap shut. It had to happen, but now Krakoa is alone now and forever. The present. Doug admits it's beautiful here. Xavier asks him if he wouldn't mind spending some time here on his own. When Doug chuckles that Professor X has plans, Xavier decides to show him, and telepathically does so. Cypher is shocked. Then he admits that's ambitious. Xavier asks how long it will take. Months. Maybe a year if he is terrible at this. How does that sound? Like he's got quite a bit of work ahead of him. Xavier replies and throws him his bag from the X-Jet. Best get to it. The X-Men 1000. The old blue man introduces himself as an elder to the messengers of the Phalanx and tells them they hope for ascension. They have to try, don't they? Isn't that what's next? The idea of the Phalanx's great union existing just beyond their reach is something they cannot tolerate. The Phalanx take the flying robot and convert it into dust. A mysterious exchange between him and the leader follows. The librarian asks what just happened, and is told by a female the Phalanx are the forerunners of a galactic empire that they believe has dominion over the entire known universe. The Phalanx have the ability to convert any machine intelligence into their collective, which after an amount of time, if the intelligence has been found worthy, will eventually ascend and become part of the greater collective. The librarian remarks that the Phalanx find them useful. Clearly, that should be celebrated. But she isn't celebrating. She replies it always comes down to cost, and the method doesn't work with biological entities. So, the Elder made a host machine, an empty vessel, and copied himself over to it before the Phalanx absorbed it. They just confirmed that he was in there somewhere. Nimrod the Greater remarks to the librarian that it is foreboding that the Phalanx want machines and not them. So, they are trying to trick the Phalanx. The librarian asks. The woman replies they are just trying to find a way around the problem. Now they wait to see if the Phalanx find it acceptable. Krakoa.
Humans.
Polaris scoffs, sitting in a cave where several golden eggs lie under a tree.
Is there any good in them?
Her father, Magneto, lectures that humanity as a society never really took off until they left hunting and gathering behind and transformed into an agrarian society. They stopped moving around. Said this is a good place. It is fertile, and it is ours, and from here we will not be moved. And that's the one good thing humans taught them. Society. Charles, and he always wondered what would happen if mutants didn't have to run and hide anymore. What would happen if their greatest traits would no longer be strength and aggressiveness, but creativity, intelligence, and ingenuity. And now they know. Storm and Professor X enter, followed by a very unlikely group of 5 mutants. Cyclops' former students Tempest and Goldballs, the mutant Messiah Hope Summers, new X-Man Elixir, and the X-Men's former enemy, the reality-bending Proteus. As they begin to work, Magneto explains the process to Lorna. Fabio Medina had a seemingly benign but useless mutation. He could make golden balls appear, which he does. Recently, they learned they were non-viable eggs, which, thanks to Proteus's reality warping power, can be turned viable. As a next step, the 5 inject the eggs with the DNA of their dead comrades, and Elixir kickstarts the process of cellular replication. After that, the mutant embryo would need time to mature. The process sped up thanks to the time-bending power of Tempest. The whole intricate process is steered by Hope. Her powers enable them to work at their peak and in unison. Separate they are great, but together, those 5 have made them whole. Xavier stands in front of the tree. The first eggs crack, showing the grown forms of Scott Summers and Jean Grey. Scott's eyes glow with red energy. All of them come crawling to Xavier. With a smile, Xavier orders, "To me, my X-Men." Lorna, in the meantime, asks her father the most pressing question. While these are her friends' bodies, it's not really them, is it? He orders her to watch. All this time, everyone has misunderstood what Cerebro really is. Yes, with it, Charles could locate any mutant in the world, but that eventually became the secondary function of the machine. Xavier takes Cyclops by the chin and puts a visor on him. Magneto continues. The first was copying the mind, the essence of any mutant Xavier found, so they could one day put a soul back into its mutant shell. And that's exactly what Xavier is doing with Scott Summers. Stunned, Cyclops lies on the ground. "There you are, my boy," Xavier addresses him. Even knowing he could bring them back, a part of him dies any time any of them do. So let's not do that again, shall they? Scott weakly grabs his arm and asks if it worked. Xavier assures him they succeeded and their sacrifice was not in vain. It was a gift, and in the giving they saved them all. The others have been restored. Logan, that's me, helps up Scott, and Xavier thanks them all. Storm orders them on their feet. The world is not ready for the likes of their return, but Krakoa is waiting. They follow her, still buck naked outside where the citizens of Krakoa are waiting. Storm addresses them all and tells them a great thing has happened today. A miracle made possible by mutant hands. The great work of the 5. The 5 walk among the crowd and are treated reverently like stars. Storm tells the crowd to love them, for they have righted the wrongs of man and defeated their great enemy, Death. She continues that the 5 have returned these mutants to them. She sees them. Do they? They see them, but do they know them? The crowd chorus. Storm turns to Cyclops and asks him his name. Scott Summers. Cyclops, he replies. Addressing him as brother, she asks how she knows it is him. Scott replies that once he thought he was strong, a leader of mutants, and then she showed him what strong was. She learned it watching him. She replies as she kisses him on the brow. Storm turns to the crowd and shouts, "This is her brother. She knows him. As do they. Yes, his name is Cyclops, but he is more than that." "What is he?" "Mutant," the crowd shouts. Storm turns to Jean and asks for her name.
"Marvel Girl, Jean Grey," is the reply.
"And how does she know it's her?"
"Oh, I'm the only me there ever was,"
are Jean's words. Storm hugs her, acknowledges her, and goes through the same ask and answer with the crowd. She turns to Monet, who introduces herself as Monet Croix. Penance. When Storm reaches for her, Monet orders no touching. Storm laughs at her typical abrasiveness and acknowledges her. Xavier and Magneto watch the ceremony from some distance. Magneto muses he should be weeping with joy, but Xavier says he understands. Over the years, man has killed millions of them. and so many remain lost. But this is the good work. Magneto states it must be continued until Genosha is spoken of, not as a grave, but as a crucible. It will continue until it's done. Xavier agrees. Humans should have killed them when they had the chance, Magneto states. Xavier smiles slightly. Magneto asks when the UN votes. The next day, Xavier informs him, if none of the Security Council vote against it, there will be an expedited General Assembly vote in the afternoon. Magneto asks if he is worried. Not today, Charles replies. Today, he is filled with nothing but hope. Storm finishes the ceremony as the crowd embrace the returned. The next day at the UN, a celebration. Emma Frost sips her champagne in one corner of the room while telepathically sending to Xavier that he is loving this, isn't he? She congratulates him. He's won himself a nation. Elsewhere, Beast mingles. Xavier sends back it is their nation. Due, he thinks, in no small part to her. Emma plays coy and Xavier points out he got the sense the Security Council wasn't going to support them today. The French ambassador all but told him the Russian ambassador would vote against them. Imagine his surprise when he abstained. Emma joins Hank and the Indian ambassador while telepathically projecting that she found most humans to be impressionable. People change their minds all the time. Maybe the ambassador had a crisis of conscience. A little humanity to go with her excess of humanity. Charles grabs a flute of champagne. Coercion leaves an indelible stain on the victim. It also affects the one perpetrating the act. Dominating the will of another often comes with a cost. He raises the glass to her. He just wanted her to know he knows, and a grateful nation thanks her for her sacrifice. Smiling coyly, Emma suggests he buy her something pretty or make her governor of a province or something. He replies he has much bolder things in mind. 2 days later on Krakoa, Magneto, Xavier and myself wait in an area full of teleportation portals. I asks if they are sure about this. It's not too late to change your mind. Xavier smoothly replies, this is about an opportunity to change. I mentioned some people are beyond saving. If that were true, would I be here? Magneto asks. Would he? Sage informs them about incoming and gasps at how many are coming. The ones coming are the mutants villains, from the small-time villains like Random and Animax, to sometime allies like Frenzy and Colstow, to long-time foes like Mesmero, Selene, Mr. Sinister and Sebastian Shaw, to finally, their most implacable foe, Apocalypse, who recognizes Krakoa. He converses with the island and agrees it has been too long. Swarms of birds greet him. I growl and tell him he is making himself a little too comfortable. Apocalypse considers the word inadequate, but he and Krakoa know each other. He fought a war here before the world had any idea that there was such a thing as mutants. Magneto considers this fitting. They will not risk losing this place because some of them might not appreciate what they have. So, is there gonna be a problem? I demand.
Why would there
Is Apocalypse's reply. For centuries he has fostered conflict in the hope of mutantum finally establishing dominance. Now look at them. They have finally become what he has intended them to be. He could not be more proud. Magneto demands to hear the words. Apocalypse announces they submit to the laws of this land, acknowledge that from this day forward they all serve a higher purpose than want or need. One people from this day forward. Xavier announces, then let the word be known. Krakoa is for all mutants. Welcome home. He shakes Apocalypse's hand.